Okay, great. So, hey, we're live here. Let me just also test my audio. I want to say hi to Ollie. Hi, Lingo fan. Um, seeing some of your comments here. Let me just check your audio. Do I hear myself? I hope I hear myself. Can you hear me? If you can leave a comment there. Yeah, and hey, Sara, also. So, I gave myself a short deadline for preparing this, and because I have a tendency to kind of over prepare and to just go overboard with some stuff. So, as you can imagine, when I was doing research for this, I made a playlist of just all the YouTube videos I could find that would have been related to setting up a channel for beginners, and also kind of videos where people had been on YouTube for perhaps like 2 years or 3 years, 4 years. And then they would be looking back at like, okay, here are the top 5 things, here are the top 10 things I wish I had known. So I was looking at a lot of those types of videos to see what are actual YouTubers saying about this, about getting started, what to consider for creating a channel or starting a channel. And hi, Nikki, as well. So I wanted to niche down a little bit further and say, okay, let's say for language channels, in addition to being on YouTube. And I think I've been using YouTube, I mean, not just as a viewer, but as a content creator. I think I've had an account now. If I check here, I have to go into the channel details, I guess. I should have looked this up before, I'm sorry. So that's another thing. If you are going to be looking up statistics, maybe look those things up beforehand. But if I go to my channel and I click about, it says I joined in June of 2013. So that's, yeah, if you go to my channel and it says you click about, so it says I've had this channel for almost 7 years now. Now, this advice I'm going to be sharing here is mostly about the mistakes I've made over the last 7 years. So if you look at my subscriber account or number, it's about 600 subscribers. So I guess I'm averaging about 100 subscribers a year or less. So it's not the best situation to be in after 7 years, because there are definitely other people out there who have been more consistent and knowing who they're talking to, what audience they want to build. I've had a lot of false starts and just little things that kind of got in the way over these past years. I would say the number one thing has been, well, one, it's probably like video editing skills. So for the most part, I was doing kind of just point and shoot, turn on the camera, start talking videos. And when I started doing that for Russian for the Add One challenge, then I was documenting my my language practice. So those weren't videos that I was going to go back and edit. And because of that, I would say the viewing on those videos was very limited. I didn't put any subtitles on those. So if somebody doesn't know Russian, they're not going to have an interest in watching those very much. I was mainly doing those videos as a documentation for myself as accountability. Each day I would make a video. Otherwise, I was using YouTube when making Google Hangouts sessions. So having the account allowed me to set up Google Hangouts. And when I was documenting going live, recording myself in Russian, I was using the Google Hangouts YouTube function there, where it was very easy. You just click a button, you go live, or you start recording yourself for a private audience. People would not get a notification that you were live. So I would just record myself with the live software, and then it would be it would go to the playlist after I was finished. So I would record myself for like 10, 15 minutes, speaking in Russian on a daily basis. And that was first and foremost for my own accountability. I just say hi to Jürgen. Thanks for joining here. So let me know a little bit here for you who are joining. What is your goal, or how are you currently using YouTube if you're creating content, or if you're just viewing, watching videos and things? What are you primarily kind of using that for? Are you watching this for, in the case of language learning, are you watching channels to learn about, say, vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation? Are you looking for advice on language learning? When you're creating content, are you doing this to document what you've learned? Are you doing this for accountability? So several of you are here because of the speaking challenge. So first, we primarily encourage people to do voice recordings. But some of us who are, if you're feeling comfortable a little bit more on the camera, then you can go ahead and document this on YouTube and share this with other friends who might be learning languages as well. So, okay, we have LingoFan saying, yeah, just kind of watching for now. Okay. So in terms of the like going from watching to producing, let me know here, what are a few things that catch your attention? What are you usually doing to find videos? Are you subscribed to a channel? Is that somebody that you want to connect with? Are you using the search bar and looking up keywords? Are you getting recommended videos at in the side, or videos that pop up in the information infographics? What else? Are you primarily watching YouTube on your cell phone? Are you watching this on your desktop? So those are lots of little things that kind of go into the experience on the platform. And YouTube wants to encourage people to stay on YouTube. They generate money through viewing, and people who have a channel, they are getting paid when there are a certain amount of views on their videos. So YouTube will recommend videos to you based on kind of what you've seen so far, and also perhaps the device you're using. So if you are on a cell phone and you're watching this, let's say you're in bed, or you're on the sofa, or I don't know, in public transportation, maybe that would be using data outside of the home. But if you are on your phone, YouTube might be recommending short content, shorter videos. Your attention span might be a little bit shorter. So there's possibility that you might interrupt a video midway. And if you're on your desktop, or if you're, let's say you're streaming or using YouTube on a TV. So, I mean, TVs are kind of, TV and computer, it's all kind of getting merged right now with tablets and things. I use a lot of YouTube on the TV. It's connected to the Wi-Fi. So, and my kids definitely use YouTube on our TV. So in those cases, if you're settled down on the sofa, you have the YouTube up, there's a chance that you might be getting longer videos being recommended. So the type of content you're ready to consume, that can be part of that algorithm is they want to get you to watch more information, and they also want to know what you're more likely to watch next. So they're constantly looking for kind of what's that next thing you're going to watch. So I'm curious to see how, like, where are you throughout the day, I guess, also, and which devices you might switch between to see what kind of content is being recommended to you and what you end up watching. Are you procrastinating something? So for example, sometimes when I am thinking, oh, what am I going to write in the next day's email, one of my go-to places just getting ideas generated is maybe the news on YouTube. So I can watch the news in the United States, the MSNBC, like the nightly news, they put that on YouTube. So I don't have to have an account for the States. I can watch that. That's about 20-30 minute wrap up. I will probably watch some of the late night show hosts, Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, Trevor Noah. I watch some of those comedians and their spin on the news, and that can get me just what's trending, what's going on. So I sometimes get a few ideas there. What are we going to talk about next? But yeah, usually, yeah, Lingo fan, yeah, always procrastinating. So YouTube can be that go-to place for, I'm procrastinating something, and then it can become a rabbit hole. You can get one idea, you can watch another thing that can lead to another one as well. Okay, and Jürgen saying, for the content production, yeah, just shooting a video at times, but not knowing how to reach out. Okay. When you say reach out, do you mean kind of reach out to an audience, or like what to do next after that video? Okay. And Nikki, I'm doing a lot of those things. I'm watching on my phone. I'm using YouTube for slang, pronunciation, the words. Okay. So yeah, in terms of what the content you are looking at, YouTube can be a great place for that connection between the audio and the visual. So if you had vocabulary words on a screen or subtitles and the pronunciation, that's a great place to review that material. I was asking some questions of people over on Instagram and saying, like, okay, between Instagram and YouTube, what do you prefer? So let me read a couple of these comments that I received here. So and these were comments saying, okay, yeah. So Jürgen saying, yeah, reaching out to an audience. Okay. So yeah, a couple of comments here I got on Instagram, and I was asking them, which do you prefer, Instagram or YouTube? So these are people who prefer Instagram. So Instagram is better because there are short lessons. It's easier to remember. Another person, Instagram, because on YouTube, there's a lot of advertising. It is annoying. Okay. Another person, in my book, Instagram, because it's more reachable as like a bunch of handy hints. Okay. Another person, Instagram, because YouTube is confined in my country. So some countries do not have access to YouTube, but they have access to Instagram. Okay. So Instagram, because the internet is weak. The connection is weak in my country. Another person, Instagram is better to watch. Okay, Instagram, because it's faster and direct. Instagram, because I have images, text, and long form video all in one place. It's more social and I can learn. So those are a few comments that people have responded. I asked about Instagram versus YouTube. So I'll go ahead and ask you here, what's your take on, let's say, YouTube versus Instagram? Or is there another platform that you would consider for video being, like right now, a lot of people are using TikTok for short videos. Okay, so thinking of the content that you are consuming and the content that you might want to produce and where that information is being located. So on YouTube, you can do longer videos. You can get a wider screen. I do see a lot of people that will sit on one side of the screen and they can put information on this side. There's the fact that you can pause a YouTube video. You can't really pause a short 1 minute Instagram video. You have to wait for it to repeat and loop. So on Instagram, you have that looping characteristic. I'm not sure certain YouTube videos you want to watch on repeat, but on Instagram, that's the default, is just repetition of a 1 minute video. Unless you have the IGTV, like the longer, there's more vertical videos, and that can go like 10 minutes, even up to an hour. I've seen more teachers doing a live video on Instagram and then saving it and then uploading it to their IGTV account, and then that can go up to an hour, but it is primarily a vertical looking video. Okay. And let's look at some of these messages here. So yeah, Jurgen, I like both. Sometimes I only have energy to watch a short lesson. So in that case, Instagram is nice. Otherwise, yeah, YouTube is great. So it can depend on the kind of content and how much time you have there. Okay. And Sara, I prefer watching YouTube on the computer. Okay. So yeah, depending on, like, maybe you have a bigger screen, or it can be in the background, or you can go check out the descriptions in the video as well. Instagram basically just has the one link that would be in somebody's profile. They could try to shorten a link, put that in the description, but I'm not sure how many people do actually kind of copy, if they're on a desktop, perhaps copy the link, go find it. So, but on the YouTube descriptions, there's a lot of links that people usually put in there for their website, maybe their products, their a freebie, something to download. Maybe if they're talking about the gear that they're using, here's an Amazon link for the microphone, the webcam, the camera, the lighting. I mean, or here's the makeup I'm using. So there's a lot of links that people can put for like affiliate links and things. So the YouTube video descriptions, those can get filled with a lot of information there. And I would say also YouTube has a little bit more of the playlist possibility, and you can engineer the viewer's experience if you can create a series of related videos, not just in a playlist to say here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but if you mention something in a video, you say, oh, if you'd like to know more about this, click on this video. So if I mention something now, if you were writing a list like that, it would make sense to kind of go through it step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And for the YouTube, kind of the producing that information and producing those extra videos, you kind of want to go about it backwards. So I was thinking about this, saying, if I wanted to make a sandwich, this was kind of one of the thoughts that was going in my head, and with the rabbit hole that you have with YouTube. So like the finished result would see, okay, here's this peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I could have on the end card at the end of the video saying like, oh, well, if you'd like to learn about ham and cheese sandwiches, okay, that's over here. or if you'd like drinks that go well with a sandwich. So you could have something related. It could be, oh, is it peanut butter and jelly? Okay, where do peanuts come from? That could be a separate video. Is it jelly? Is it jam? What's the difference between jam and jelly? So thinking in some cases where a viewer could get distracted, but if you pop up with a video right at that moment where they might move on to another video, or they have that distraction, that could be more content that they consume. But you do want to kind of think of those things before you actually kind of create the video that your goal of creating is. So if I have just like a short tutorial, how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, okay, bread, peanut butter, other bread, jam, okay, finished. But during those steps, somewhere along the way, I could just get distracted by, oh, like what kind of peanut butter should I use? How to choose a healthy one. So there could be other related topics from there. This is just an example. I'm not going to teach about peanut butter and jelly, but it's just a way to show how you could create related content or content that could go on a side tangent. And if you let people know about those questions, that's a one way to produce some of that content. Think also that YouTube is a search engine. People are using a lot of the search bar to look for videos, to look for ideas. And it is paired with Google. Google owns YouTube. So, and Google being a huge search engine, those two together, one of the first search results that you'll get if you go to the Google website and look for something, they will pop up related videos that could answer your question. And sometimes they might have it segmented to go straight to a certain minute if that video has that information in the captions, in the description. So if somebody says, okay, how do I do this on Google, they can find a video and then go straight into that part of the video where they do give that solution. So they are in the process of trying to give people answers to their questions, and especially if it's something visual. Now, going back to the language learning aspect there, if you are looking for grammar or slang or pronunciation, what channels are you watching that kind of help you with that the most? Are you going to one channel on a regular basis? Are you going to multiple ones? Are you comparing, contrasting? Let me know a little bit there for kind of, is that, or which language are you using that for? Is this for like English? Are you doing American English, British English? So for getting an idea of like if you're going to produce your own content there, keep in mind, what do you enjoy watching? And also, what do you not enjoy? Like what will cause you to click away? So let me share a few mistakes that I've made over the years with that. So as I mentioned here, I started back like 2013. I'm not sure I didn't really start teaching online until the end of 2015. So some of the videos that I was also making on my YouTube channel and for my own use, in 2013, I remember this now. So I was starting to program with like JavaScript, HTML. So I was also making short screen videos to document the things that I had created, and I wanted to share those ideas with some friends. So I was maybe posting a couple of videos on Facebook, but a lot of my friends were not interested in programming, so they didn't really watch them. So I was mainly making that for myself and then sharing that to people who weren't really interested. So that was a little bit of a discouragement. So kind of keep in mind with when you're producing the content, sometimes it's like creating it for crickets. you might not find your right audience at the beginning. It might take some time for them to kind of find you, and you might have to promote yourself in different places, or figure out who you can share that with, or ask people to kind of spread the word. Now, going into some of the mistake videos I've seen where people say, oh, I wish I had known this. A lot of people have made one video and then they'll disappear from YouTube for maybe months, maybe even years, before making something else, and not being consistent with that. So that, I would say, is a big problem that I've had, is just not having that consistency, not having that schedule of, I make videos every Friday. With me going live on Wednesdays, that has gotten me a little bit more accountable. I've done this as a YouTube webinar or question and answer session. I've also gone over and talked with people on Zoom, kind of check in, see how people are doing. And lately, I wanted to get back into talking on YouTube and maybe researching some information based on some of the topics that people said they were interested in. So going from the teaching live, that, and then editing it into a shorter video, that's where I'm currently kind of struggling with the timing aspect, to realize video editing can take a while, and the process, the creating an idea, what I'm going to talk about, making it bite-size, what are the 5 speaking points that I want to consider, or the 10 points. Also, a lot of people talk about the saturation on the platform now, to say that there's lots of channels, lots of people producing content all the time. So competing for somebody's interest is getting harder, and the quality of the content overall is improving. So if somebody doesn't quite have the video editing experience, or they're not engaging, if they're not getting to the point, if they're not answering people's questions, it's very tempting for somebody to click away if they're not engaged with the person who is sharing that information, or if it's going off on a tangent. So I would say in 2017, this is like 2 years into teaching online and doing a lot of collaborating or networking with other teachers, more teachers were going live, doing live streams, and then that moved over to Instagram Live, or there was also, what was the other one that people were using for live? I forget the name now. That just shows how technology kind of goes away, but not Snapchat. There's the other one. I forget the name now. So there's been a couple of platforms where people would go live, and I saw a lot of teachers in 2017 saying, oh, okay, I'm going to be doing live teaching, live sessions on a regular basis. But then the views of that material would usually not get a lot of replay views. So some teachers stopped doing that live teaching. And I think that the trend at that time was also more and more. So give people a half hour of content, give people an hour of content, and try to get the views or the metrics up on YouTube to increase the watch time. Now I would say the trend, because there's so much content out there, it could be Twitch. Twitch, I think, was a little bit more for the gaming, but there was one. What was? What was this one? Not the apps. Let's say maybe 2018. Periscope. Sorry, yeah. I was thinking, yeah, Periscope. So a lot of people were, still using like Periscope as well to produce live videos. I don't use Periscope anymore. And hey, Carol, yeah, no problem. Still in the middle of this. So what was I saying? Yeah, so for the 2017 was these like long form live sessions, and hoping that would kind of increase viewing and increase generating the content. And now I would say the trend that I've seen is, and especially with the popularity with like Instagram, is getting the shorter videos, shorter bite-sized information. So and that requires a bit more of the preparation. So scripting a little bit, rehearsing, the editing, getting rid of the those moments. So that does add into the time aspect of creating the video. Other people have said, okay, don't let the video editing stop you from creating the content. Just kind of go record yourself for 10 minutes, whether you have the mistakes, if it's imperfect, just get comfortable on the camera, do that, practice it, do it every day, and share that imperfect result. Just get that accountability and get the ball rolling for the content production. So my approach now has been focusing my attention more on Instagram so I could practice the editing techniques with a 1-minute video. So I've felt that, okay, as I was getting better at my video editing techniques on Instagram for like 1-minute video, it's not too long. I can try a variety of, okay, do I put my head here and I put information here? Do I shoot B-roll? Do I insert extra effects? Do I put subtitles? What are some things I can play around with there? And because it's just bite size and maybe keep it focused on one short lesson, then I can just like finish that. Hopefully don't overdo it, because depending on the information, that could get into like an hour's worth of editing for 1-minute video. It's just not worth it. So I'm trying to find the balance there between, can I do this in less than 30 minutes? Can I do this in 20 minutes? Can I do this in 15 minutes? So it's almost a challenge for me sometimes to see like how fast, how easy can I make this to produce something and not stay silent? So the consistency part on there is an issue for YouTube, and if it's probably not a lot of 1-minute videos on YouTube. I mean, I do have a 1-minute video on YouTube for how to use SpeakPipe voice recorder. That ends up being like my most popular video on my channel, or just in terms of the views. Let me go over here to the analytics, but to see like what are my most popular videos here. In terms of what people are actually consuming. Yes, how to use SpeakPipe voice recorder, and that's got like 727 views. And that's because I include that in the emails. How do you use this tool that we're recommending for the voice recordings? Other than that, I have one thing for the present tense pronunciation. There's a few of the live videos that I've done recently. There was a live session with Ermi from the Language Rose. There was last week with the Setting Up a Language Challenge. And I also mentioned one of the emails going back, a webinar I did 4 years ago, one of the first ones that I had done. And then some of this other information for the TOEFL, some of those videos as well. So this content is really just all over the place. And I would say that is a potential problem for the channel or for the playlists, to say, are people approaching me for exam preparation, the TOEFL? Are people approaching me for language learning advice? Are people enjoying interviews that I've done with other language teachers, language influencers, language learners. So I do have kind of 3 separate ways that I can share information. And I think for the channel, I do need to kind of separate it into maybe playlists or related topics, and not try to kind of disengage. So if somebody wants the TOEFL and they don't really care about interviews, well, they can just focus on the TOEFL channel. Or if somebody is learning a language generally and they like the speaking challenge, and a follow-up could be an interview with a teacher that I've gotten to know or who I could recommend. So there does seem to be the possibility for language learners, kind of what's other content I could be producing for them. Yeah. Oh yeah, Sara and Tony saying, yeah, whenever you mention SpeakPipe, that video will pop up. Yeah, so that one, that does teach me a little bit of information, the links that I share in the emails. Another thing in the channel analytics, if I can see this quickly. Oh, yeah, the traffic sources for YouTube. So my biggest thing here, it says external. So those would be my emails. And it says, yeah, 53% of my traffic is from outside of YouTube there. Otherwise, using the YouTube search bar, that could be about 16%. Then it says direct or unknown. I'm not sure what that refers to, because that could be from a URL. That could be some unidentified app. There's other YouTube features, so that could be, they're not very helpful with the descriptions of these sources, but at least half of this is saying external. So that could be from a website, it could be an app, or it could be a link that's embedded somewhere. I would say that's coming from my emails for that. And so going forward, if I could, that's another point I was going to get to here, Sara, with the thumbnail. So for a long time, I had not really taken the time to do design and image editing. So I've kind of had a love-hate relationship here with YouTube in terms of wanting to be different, but not surviving in that kind of in this, I suppose, competitive ecosystem where there's a lot of good content out there. And the only 2 ways that people can know if what I'm going to share is worth it is the title and the thumbnail. And if you just if you do a YouTube live, or the Google Hangouts YouTube live, and you just let the computer select the image for you, which could be some random picture from when you're talking, you might have some like unflattering picture where the image is showing your nose or something with your teeth. So it's important to kind of replace those thumbnails with not just a picture and no text. There could be a combination there to let people know. One thing I've seen recently is maybe not just doubling the title and the text on the screen. That's kind of redundant. That's not maybe the best use of the space in the image. And I have seen some tips I was watching recently from Pat Flynn, and he's been sharing some advice on his channel. And one thing that I really liked, where he was saying, take a screenshot of the list of search results that you get for a few keywords, and make your thumbnail and then paste it over onto that screen share, and just kind of get it to fit where it would be for other videos. And I thought that was a very interesting idea to see how would your video fit within all of these other search results for a similar topic. So if I wanted to teach, let's say, past tense pronunciation of regular English verbs, and so I mean, I've done that, And looking at my thumbnail, it's probably a little bit of a boring white background, just the list of words, just some text. The font is maybe like the default, like just one of those default fonts that you get whenever you open a text editor. So it just looks like I didn't make an effort to make a thumbnail, and that's basically what happened. So if I take that thumbnail compared to somebody else's thumbnail that might have a more interesting font, more colorful, not just black and white, maybe a person's face so they can see who is going to be, is this just going to be a screen share where they see the text and they hear the voice, or they don't see the person behind this? So I think images where you can see somebody's face and connect with their eyes, those do have a tendency to attract more attention. So thumbnails, also you might want to look at like advertising and see kind of what kind of ads catch your attention, what kinds of thumbnails catch your attention. And a lot of times people are attracted to faces and attracted to eyes, and sometimes the eyes can be looking at the information. So there can be a like catch somebody's glance and realize where they're looking, and then that can lead to kind of, are they curious? So sometimes with the thumbnail, you do want to get their curiosity, get the have a reason to click here. I wouldn't say clickbait. There are people who will use that technique, and that's a little more of like click and switch. Yeah, Tony, yeah, it's one of my most popular videos. But yeah, I'm not even on camera for the SpeakPipe video. But so the going forward, trying to figure out like what can I apply to these videos, and I would say the thumbnails. And also, Pat was mentioning that I've seen this other people do this, especially like Ollie Richards, but not for the videos, but getting multiple images in place and then getting the audience involvement to vote. So Ollie did this for a couple of his books. Like I remember, or even course titles, membership programs as well. So he contacted freelancers, like people on Fiverr, designers, and would get maybe 10 images or logos or book designs, and maybe whittle them down to maybe 5. And he would put a poll in his Facebook group and get people to vote, which one do you like more? And then once things started to drift towards or kind of gravitate towards 1 or 2 options, then, okay, what can you, what's working well here? And then, okay, go with that design. That seems to resonate with the most people. So you can do this with thumbnails. And I've seen this with some other people where there's like, okay, do you prefer, I have a video coming out this Friday, today's Tuesday. What are your thoughts on this thumbnail? What are your thoughts on that one? So yeah, the thumbnail, the keywords, do they kind of go together, or is there something that just doesn't quite resonate? Is there like a disconnect there? And are you going to be curious to go watch that video? And as soon as you watch it, is it going to get straight to the point? Or is it going to meander for like maybe an introduction for 2 minutes? Or so people might have a short attention span there. But the getting somebody's curiosity and then click through to know, okay, this is answering my question. This is what I came here to see. And so making sure that those 3 things kind of match, because yeah, you just get keywords, the title, maybe a little bit of information in the description if you're on a desktop, you can see that. And then what's going on in the like beginning of that video, is this answering, or is this related to what you wanted to know? Now, obviously, the language videos where you're kind of tracking your speaking practice, that might not be something that somebody's searching for, and people might not be tagging those videos with the keywords or the descriptive title that might be searchable. If it's like, okay, day 1, 30-day speaking challenge, we don't know what the question is, so we have to click through to find out. It might not be in the description. It might be in a language that I don't understand, so there might not be subtitles. So those kinds of videos might be for personal use and the playlist, and then figure out what other information might help you connect with other people on there. So a few things here. Yeah, Tony with yeah, it shows what I'm going to see inside the video. Yeah, so the thumbnail, yeah, you do want to make sure that there is that connection between, is this what I'm going to see? And the chart looks useful, so I would, okay, yeah, so going back to the one with the pronunciation and seeing what would be in there. So yeah, those ones I have made for kind of separating the information there. I think one of them I did edit it, so it would be kind of one block on the screen, maybe not the whole thing. And it also has a great keywords. Yeah. So those are a few things that, at least like on that one, of the pronunciation to what worked there, what could I improve? Maybe I could put like a little, I don't know, my face, a little tiny square there, so there is a human behind this. And Sara, yeah, I like the anti-clickbait clickbait thumbnails when they ask a question in the title and then answer it in the thumbnail. That's getting a clever use of kind of get the curiosity, and the obvious answer to that question is my video. So that can click. Yeah, that can be a good logical sequence there. So the hook, why should you watch this? And these are some things that I'm looking for now, what to do next for the videos. I was taking some notes. These are a bit messy. I should have gotten these in order. But recently I was watching Stu McLaren with the Tribe and his membership there. Let me see if I can find this. And one of the videos, he was, yeah, I think I got this here. So what he was saying as like a kind of a 6-step process for ways he's going for his podcast videos, which could be blog posts and YouTube videos, and trying to get the hook, the reason why is somebody going to watch this. Start with maybe a story, an anecdote could relate. Somebody might remember the story, the anecdote better than just the idea itself, and that little story could relate to demonstrate that idea better. And then from there, break this up into maybe 3 main points. And then this last part, getting a little bit of a kind of like a call to action, like what to do next. So once somebody has this information, what do I want them to do with that next? So I haven't been very clear with that in my own videos. Like again, with this love-hate relationship with YouTube, I didn't want to be very spammy. So I wasn't actively going out and say, hey, if you like this, give me a thumbs up, or subscribe, or share this, or hit that bell notification. Like I hear that on so many videos, and I just didn't want to kind of sound like that. But I realized, like, okay, if I want to grow this channel, make it a little bit bigger, and help connect with more people, I do need to kind of play the game and do that. So those are a few considerations there of kind of scripting out some of my videos, not completely word for word, but just turning this into like a 10-minute bite size. What's the benefit? Where is this going? Really condensing the information, like 3 to 5 ideas, and not like too much. That's, I think, where I need to start heading now, is the bite size information. And I think you probably will see a few more links in my emails in the near future, as I will like get into a better habit of writing my emails further in advance. last night was not the best situation because I had a very long evening of teaching. But so if I can get those steps in place, work backwards from, okay, here is the week. Okay, it's a Sunday. Where do I want to plan for like the next 5 days? The emails are usually getting me to plan maybe 2 to 3 days in advance. But if I can kind of plant seeds and a few days in advance, then I can maybe make some YouTube video content, publish it, share it, and then get a dialogue started, get more reflection on, okay, we're going to talk about this. Here are some things I would like to share about that topic. Or if you're learning English, what are some vocabulary words? What are some grammatical structures that would be helpful to discuss that? What's the pronunciation of some of those words? So that does require me to plan a little bit further in advance and get those pieces ready to go when we're getting closer to a topic. So in terms of a production schedule, if a question or a topic goes live on a certain day and realize I need to include that video or that topic maybe 2 days in advance, which means I need to edit it 3 days in advance, which means I need to shoot it 4 days in advance, which means I need to record or plan it and record it maybe 5 days in advance. So this means I need to get my maybe emails and production schedule at least into like a 5-day, 7-day rotating process instead of just at the last minute. And I think that would be kind of allow me to kind of see what information is helpful, which ones are not. Maybe go back into some of the older emails and realize like which advice was helpful, which advice did people resonate with as possible like further development on a YouTube video. So this has turned into more of a reflecting on kind of what hasn't worked on YouTube and where I would like to go in the future, but especially to grow this and reflecting a little bit on the possible mistakes. Let me go into a few things, other comments that other tech people or other YouTubers had mentioned. So the being authentic, that's I guess something that I struggled with at first. Be like, I want to be Benny Lewis. I want to be Ollie Richards. I want to be Gabby Wallace. Who else out there? Or I want to be Kirsten Cable. So I've found mentors, people in realizing like where are they situated. And I would say, okay, Kirsten is really good at the podcasting. Benny has the blog posts. I think more of his videos now have been the kind of gaming and the tech side, and not so much the like teaching the languages. Who else? Gabby, I've worked with her in her membership program, and seeing that she's got like just a lot of the English, teaching English videos, a lot of it kind of talking to the camera. And who else? Yeah, just a couple different people that I've wanted to like. What is my style? What are my assets? What do I offer? So I've struggled with that for a long time. So a lot of YouTubers on here were saying like, well, if you're just going to copy their style and copy their setup and that, people are just going to not watch because they want something unique. They want something a little different. They want to connect with that person. And other people on YouTube saying like, if you're going to be doing this for a couple of years, you want to make sure you're doing something that you enjoy making and enjoy that process, because once it becomes consistent and there's some kind of a production schedule, you need that enjoyment and that love of what you do, the passion to push you forward. If it starts to become a chore and a task and maybe lacking a certain inspiration on that topic doesn't resonate with me, but I got myself into this niche and I don't want to do that anymore. That can be hard to pivot and break away. So a lot of people are saying like it's really, really important to connect with what you're most passionate about. I would say for me, it's been kind of, well, I love the language learning. That's why I have the challenge going. That's why I'm connecting with all of you right now. I do have a lot of TOEFL students and I've connected with them and I've applied a lot of my language learning advice to how to get well on the exam and what strategies and techniques you need for, let's say, the English. And I would say the TOEFL has been kind of a subset of language learning. And I do like the bigger part of inspiring language learners. I would say I made some mistakes a couple years ago, let's say about 3 years ago, making a couple Facebook groups where I was like, okay, I'm going to teach French. I'm going to teach Spanish. And I still had some maybe grammatical mistakes or pronunciation mistakes, a few things here and there. And then I started to self-doubt and realize like, okay, I'm not the native speaker on these topics. Now, how do I remain confident with that without being the native speaker? And also looking out at, let's say, Benny or Ollie or a couple other people who are in that same sphere of the advice or learning from their own experience. So I did have to pivot and kind of back off a little bit and get my confidence back and say, well, okay, I'm not necessarily going to teach you Spanish. I'm not going to teach you French. I will encourage you to speak it. I will encourage you to figure this out on your own. I'll motivate you. I'll try to inspire you and maybe share my own results. So I just kind of had to back off a little bit and go, well, I can share that information. I can share what's worked for me. I can share what's worked for other people and not quite pigeonhole myself into saying like, I'm going to teach you this, but I'm not the native speaker. So that took a little bit of some time to figure out where do I feel comfortable in that space without kind of stepping on the toes of a native speaker or putting myself out like, oh, I could be like making mistakes and then I don't know, the YouTube video comments like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. So I wanted to just figure out a space where I could be comfortable. And yes, there will be those kind of comments, but realize like, okay, I'm approaching this from, I can't necessarily say this will work for you, but this has worked for me and this is some advice that has worked for other people. So I can share from that perspective. And I think that seems to kind of cover the ground where I'm not quite exposing myself or not knowing what I'm talking about. So I do prefer this has worked. So those results are there. That gives me a little more confidence to share that information and not like, well, I mean, in theory, this should work. That usually doesn't help. But, and a couple other comments here from Carol. Yeah, do likes the status of the video, allow the algorithm to promote it more. Do likes help? Yes, in terms of what I've seen people describing for the algorithm, if video is being liked and it's being viewed and there are comments, this will tell the algorithm that people are engaging with that content. And also the length of the view. So if people are staying through to the end, that is a content that they want to promote. If people are instantly dropping out after they click, and that bounce rate, and they're not liking it, and there's not many views, and the views are not going for an extended period of time, those are going to be a couple metrics that are going to indicate that this should not be promoted. Similar on the Google search the bounce rate, that's like you click something and then you go back or you go elsewhere. The videos do have a similar situation where, yeah, if the keywords and the thumbnail are there, and then you're looking at the number of times this has been viewed and the actual number of likes and the comments, that's a good indicator that people have engaged with that. It's a little bit like looking at an empty restaurant. I mean, we were just talking about restaurants, but if you see a restaurant that's empty, are you going to go in it? So you might look at like, okay, there's no likes on this video. There's very few views. And also if you see it when it was published, so if you can figure out like, okay, well, this thing's been around for a month now and there's very few views, very few likes. Yeah, I'm not going to bother. I'm going to watch something else. So as that time kind of goes on and there's not a lot of likes, not a lot of views, not a lot of comments, that could kind of not really help that video. Some people would go actively promote a video, even though it might be a little bit older. So I do see people on their Twitter feed, on their Facebook feed. It feels a bit like a green content approach, where if this content is still valid, if it still helps people, I've seen people update their video titles to say, start a YouTube channel in 2020, even though they made the video 3 years ago. Because of this whole situation, the pandemic, people are at home and starting channels. So they're kind of getting more views just by switching the title there, make it sound like it's still relevant. But people will go out of the way to like promote some older videos if they want to get some extra views on that. So it doesn't have to be permanent that a video might not have a lot of likes and views and comments. It might be kind of marketing, like pitching that video to other groups of people who might be interested and might resonate with that. And with Sara, the advice from Thomas Frank. Yeah, I've started watching him thanks to one of your recommendations. Put yourself on a schedule and then focus on getting 1% better each time. Yeah, that's a very good approach. Yeah, I've liked his productivity videos and some of the things he shared. So yeah, thanks for sharing his channel. I think when I ask about like, hey, what are some channels that everybody are watching, that helps. And so just to kind of, I've gone about an hour here, just to wrap up, and I'm probably gonna have to edit this video because I've been rambling a bit, but I did put together like a playlist of like 140 videos related to starting a YouTube channel, ideas, mistakes, what I wish I had known kind of videos. I have been taking some notes in a couple of them and trying to condense them into something bite-sized. So I wasn't able to do that in 2 days to get slides for today. But this, I think, will be an ongoing process. This is just kind of getting the ball started and looking at some of your questions, some of your comments, and seeing how can I apply this to my own channel and how we can share some of this together if a couple of you are starting your channels. But just to really summarize that and wrap this up. So the mistakes, they're going to happen. And I would say it's better to iterate through those mistakes faster than letting them go out for years and years and years. The mistakes are going to happen. You can't quite avoid them. And if you try to keep things perfect, well, then that's going to be kind of stuck in your head or very silent. I was talking to one student yesterday, and we were talking about this kind of production process, and he was reminding me of a comment from, I think, Paul McCartney from the Beatles, and saying like, to get like 100 great songs, he kind of had to get up to like 200 and then don't share 100 of them. So the process, you do need to create a lot. So the quantity is important at the beginning. That will help you iterate through the mistakes. I think I've mentioned also before in the emails, there was like a photography teacher at a university who had one group of students make 100 photos over the course of the semester, and then pick the best one and submit that for their final project. And then the other group of students, they only had to make one photo or one image, and that would be their grade. And the people who only had like working on one photo, they were procrastinating it, they were dreading it, they just felt terrible about it. The people who had had the opportunity to make 100 photos, they kept tweaking it. So a little bit like that, like get 1% better each time. So they kept tweaking it, seeing what worked, what didn't, improving on one aspect each time they would go through the process. And by the time they got through like 100 photos, they had gotten really good at lots of elements in that process. So for YouTube, trying to avoid the mistakes, that's not going to help you get better at it. So for my weaknesses, those have been like video editing, but little by little through using Instagram and doing it bite-sized for like 1-minute videos. I haven't been completely consistent on Instagram there, but when I try to say, okay, I'm not going to spend an hour editing this thing, but how could I make this easy? What would be a simple approach to do that? And say, can I do this in 20 minutes instead of an hour? Then I start to get into a streamlined production process. And a lot of YouTubers do mention like, this is a really long process. It might look very simple. It might look like they're just talking to the camera and that's it. But there might be some editing. There might be B-roll where they're shooting other images you don't like see while they're mentioning a point. So yeah, my weakness has been the editing time. And sometimes it's been the coming up with the ideas. I was watching with this playlist, videos that were saying like 50 ideas or 50 first ideas for your first 50 videos and one person was saying like I wish I had thought out 10 ideas to kind of get some kind of a playlist or get other information out there that people could be consuming, and then from there get people's comments, get people's questions. One person I've worked with through her platform, Marina Mogilko, and she's had a couple different channel names. So she's had like Lingua Marina, Marina Mogilko, and then now she's marketing herself as a Silicon Valley girl. I've been teaching on her platform LinguaTrip, and I did a couple webinars, things with her, a couple like when we were getting started, like 2016 or so, when her couple of channels were started. And one thing that's worked for her is definitely telling people, ask me a question, and that will generate a lot of new content for her upcoming videos, and seeing like, okay, a lot of people are asking about this question, this topic, people are interested in that. So that's definitely making that connection with the audience. So when I'm stuck in my head and I don't have an idea, and it's going to take a long process to edit this, come up with the idea, and it might not even resonate with people, it might not be what they want to know about, that I need to get past that process to finally get to that idea, well, people were interested in that, they left more comments, that could create additional information there. So I've seen in the speaking challenge, at least, a lot of people wanting to know about grammar, vocabulary learning, pronunciation. And then this year, as the speaking challenge has been turning like 3 years old, I wanted to go dig a little bit back into the behind the scenes material of like, what does it take to run a challenge? What does it take to have YouTube? Or how did I promote the challenge? Or how do I organize it itself? Like, what tech tools are we using there? So, and yeah, a couple other ideas I want to connect with many of you to see like, okay, what do you think would be useful as a speaking challenge channel? Because I think a lot of us are producing content. We're producing our videos and maybe using hashtags, not using hashtags, maybe promoting the speaking challenge or not. So it would be nice to kind of perhaps give it its own channel, and maybe start a brand new channel and have it dedicated specifically to the 30-day speaking challenge, and maybe bring in a couple of you to create content for that. So I think that could be a really cool opportunity as well, for teaching on it. So uploading content to that channel for teaching something in Spanish, teaching something in German. So maybe separate playlists or advice or teachers or playlists of people speaking. So I think that could be something if like my channel by myself is not working all that great at the moment because I don't know where I'm going with it. But if we could as a group start something new and say, okay, here is a brand new speaking challenge channel dedicated to the challenge and what content would be great on there. So there could be some maybe playlists of people have that on their own channel and they want to be part of a playlist, or if they can maybe upload content directly into it, then that could be something for the community. But I'll reach out and look into that for some of you who would be interested in there. And yeah. But yeah, that's a great idea, Sarah. Yeah, they're creating a challenge for the community and everybody can contribute. Yeah, so I think that's a great way to promote it and also encourage people to kind of find out about the speaking challenge there. So yeah, I like that idea. I will definitely get in contact with you and other people interested. So I'm going to wrap up here and say, yeah, thank you for watching, Sarah, Carol, Tony, Ollie, and Lingua Fan and Jurgen. So I appreciate you being here and staying and asking a lot of these great comments and questions. And this is an ongoing process, learning how to improve on YouTube. So have a great day and talk to you soon.